on the Newman Jets Audio Network. This is the Jetcast, the official podcast of Newman University Athletics, featuring exclusive interviews with coaches, players, administrators, and more. The Jetcast podcast is brought to you by South Central Sealing and Paving, online at SCSEALING.com. Mel Hambledon Ford, Pepsi, Allstate Insurance Agent Mike Light, Eck Agency, Donlinger Construction, Big Corner Creative, Dr. Brennan Lucas and Advanced Orthopedic Associates, Keystone Solid Surfaces, and by Overland Charters, the official transportation provider of Newman University Athletics. Here's the voice of the Newman Jets, Blake Cripps.
The Newman Jets volleyball team is entering year 3 of the Jose Lugo era and was to be preparing this week for the MIAA opener, a battle here in Wichita that was set for Friday night against Missouri Southern, but post-pandemic, no plans are permanent. Fall sports the first to go as the MIAA tries to salvage a 2020 athletic season. Volleyball now set to be contested sometime after we turn the calendar to 2021. When the Jets return to the court, they'll look to rebound from a 2019 season that went 1-28. Joining me to discuss the delay and the future for Jets volleyball, head coach Jose Lugo here on episode 17 of the Jetcast. Coach, good to have you back.
Thanks for having me, Blake.
Obviously, we'd rather be talking about live actual competition right now, some matches. You should be 8 matches into the season right now.
Yeah.
How strange has it felt to pass through Labor Day and not be in a regular practice mode and not be in game mode right now?
You know, for us, aside from not playing in matches, we're just taking it as we're getting it. You know, we're in a practice scenario, so we're in the 45-day window like we would be in the spring. We're getting 15 hours a week instead of 20, so at least we're still kind of getting some normalcy. Again, aside from not playing live matches, we're able to get some work done. So, you know, something is better than nothing. You know
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How have you personally been dealing with this uncertainty that comes from, obviously, the next really big thing to get decided will be the future of winter sports, which that comes on October 1st. And then at some point, I'm assuming that the fall sports, which will now be spring sports, and also the spring sports, which will still be spring sports, will have to get addressed sometime after January 1. How have you and your staff been dealing with this uncertainty of when you're going to play and if you're going to play?
You know, our outlook is always positive, but at the same time, you can only prepare for what's in front of you. So, you know, we don't know what we don't know, and until we have a plan to move forward, that's when we would, you know, really kind of, all right, this is how we're going to move ahead and things of that nature. But until then, you know, there's really no sense in worrying about what we don't know. You know, we preach this with our team, just deal with what's in front of you. That's all you can, right? You can't deal with unknowns. And so, since it's what we preach with our program, we need to take that ourselves and do the same, you know.
Well, when you came to Newman, obviously you did not get the benefit of a full off season. Right. You got here only a month before the season started. Well, now you're kind of getting some makeup time to try to build your program, put in your system. And you mentioned the practice time that you do have, which is kind of like it would be in the spring after the season. What team activities are you focusing on, and what are you using this extra time to implement now that you're getting ready for a delayed 2020 season?
You know, we've just been teaching systems. One of the benefits of being in our 15 hours in the 45-day window now is that we get these freshmen and transfers on the same page with our returners. So, you know, day 1 and day 2, you could walk around the gym and feel some excitement and some energy, but you could also see, like, okay, we have a ways to go. And, you know, yesterday in practice, things looked pretty good. So 3 weeks in, you know, you feel a lot more comfortable about where you were from day 1, which is, again, an advantage because in a normal season, you're going to get 2 weeks and then you start playing. Now we can actually go through the beginning of what would be the basketball season if they're allowed to go. We would have that full 6 weeks. You know what I mean? 8 weeks really, where we can just practice and just get dialed in and have everybody on the same page. So I think it's a benefit at this point, really.
Well, obviously, the coronavirus hasn't been the only big news of the off season for you. Coach Ealing, not the only one to add to his team this year, as Xavier Logan Lugo was brought in June 9th. At least that's his Twitter birth date, I suppose. That may not be his actual birth date. How is he and Mrs. Lugo doing?
Xavier's great. He was born on June 8th.
Okay.
And he's fantastic. He weighs almost 15 pounds and eats every 2 hours, and it's kind of nonstop. And now he's getting into a little bit more of a sleep routine so that mom and dad can actually rest a little bit at night, which is pretty nice. And once again, in terms of dealing with everything that's been going on, being able to be at home for a few weeks while he was born was really helpful to us as a family, and obviously our program benefits from that because a well-rested coach is a better coach. You know what I mean?
That's right. Did you get any tips from Coach Ealing? He just had number 5,
right?
So he's been through the ringer a few times.
Yeah. We chat a little bit about that, and we're pretty excited and happy for their family as well. And it's a growing Newman Jet family.
That it is, all the time. Talking with Jose Lugo, head volleyball coach for Newman, you mentioned to me, especially last year and when you started, that recruiting was going to be really high importance for you. It is for every volleyball program, obviously, but you said you had to get your numbers up so that you could practice the way that you wanted to practice.
Yeah.
You've got 6 freshmen on this roster this year, and the total roster is up to 16 players total. Yeah. How excited are you about the new Jets that you've brought in?
They're all great additions. Every person on the roster is going to help us get better in the gym. It's one thing when we've got some kids in the gym working hard, and they're clearly working pretty hard, but there isn't anyone next to them that's pushing just as hard as they are, so that can be modeled a little bit. So it takes a little bit of pressure off, because you can walk in the gym and go, hey, I feel pretty good today, and not push yourself just a little bit more. And so now we've got more kids that can do some things similarly, you know what I mean? And so now there's a little bit more of that engagement, and we're like, okay, hey, somebody just went over and did this, all right, I'm going to go work a little bit. I'm going to push myself just a little harder. And I think overall,
competition, isn't it?
Oh my goodness, yeah, without a doubt.
So Trinity Conley obviously headlines your returners, MIAA honorable mention last year. In what ways do you feel like she improved the most from her freshman to sophomore season?
Man, there was a lot of growth there. One of the things that I've told every freshman is freshman year is hard. This is the first time you're in college. This is the first time you're in a college program, let alone if you're getting a chance to start and if you're getting a chance to play, there's more pressure that comes on top of that.
Sure.
So that alone, going from freshman year to sophomore year, allowed her to breathe a little bit more and be like, okay, I've already been through this once. So now here we go. We're going into a different conference, so this is a different new, but at least that playing experience was there. The fact that last season offensively she hit almost 100 points higher than freshman year shows extraordinary growth considering the beast of a conference that we had just moved into.
Yeah.
Right?
And I will have some questions about that coming up. If you've been paying attention to the first 2 Jetcasts, you know that you've got a question chain question coming up. So Coach Lugo is going to get to ask a question to Trinity, and then when Trinity is up here, when we have the next player on, I'll get in touch with you or Colin, we'll set it up, and she'll get to ask a question of the next player up here.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, the rule is, as long as you can say the question and the answer in front of Grandma, I don't care what the question is, even if she has to blush, that's okay. So what question do you want me to ask Trinity Conley, who's sitting behind the camera right now?
I would like to know how she's going to adjust her game to have even more growth this season, so that if we're able to get a chance to play, that she can go from honorable mention MIAA to first team MIAA.
First team okay.
Yeah.
Going cerebral here on the court. That'll be a great answer coming up here in our next segment. 1-28 last year, obviously that's not where you wanted to be.
Sure.
You said the first year when we talked, when you had that really short season and the short lead up, you said that at minimum you would be 4 years away from being competitive. Not necessarily in the win-loss record, but just being able to stay in matches. Where do you feel like today you are on that track?
I feel like we're closer. I feel like we're a lot closer. Being able to bring in the kids that we were able to bring in, and then being on target with our 2021 class, we feel pretty good about where we're going to be at this point next season. Like I said, day one of practice and day two of practice with the coaching staff, we all looked around each other and we're like, this feels different. And again, it's, you have more people on the roster. Sure. So things can change, but we just felt like, okay, we can really work together here, and we can push each other a little bit, and we're going to get better in a hurry. So I feel a lot better about where we are now than where we were when you asked me this last time.
I remember.
Because I really did feel 4 years, and coming from those Division I ranks, that's typically what it's going to take, is 4 to 5 years, because it's going to take you a while to get a real recruiting class in that's everyone of your own that you've kind of picked because they already fit the systems that you run.
Do you have to adjust that at all because of the change in conference? Because, no disrespect to the players in the Heartland Conference, the MIAA Conference in women's volleyball is among, if not the best, with teams like Washburn and Nebraska, Kearney, Central Missouri.
Yeah.
These are some of the elite in Division II. Did that adjust your expectations at all?
In terms of recruiting, no. We're always looking for, first and foremost, players with good volleyball IQ, or we're looking for a big arm, or we're looking for a dynamic athlete. So the parameters of what we're looking for don't change. It's about, can we find the right kids to fit in our systems, and also the Newman identity. Are those the kids that are going to come, when they come on campus, are they saying, hey, you know what, this is the place for me? And so when you've got that combination, for us, it doesn't really change. If I can look at a kid that's going to make a decision between us and a mid-major D1 school, they're also probably looking at a Kearney. They're probably also looking at a Washburn. They're probably also looking at a Central Missouri. So if I'm able to get one of those kids in the same way that they're getting that kid, then to me it's, now we're in those battles together, and that tells me that we know we're going to get better in a hurry. But yeah, the type of athlete never changes.
Well, and you have been very, very adamant in your recruiting about staying close to home.
Yeah.
You've gotten a lot of Kansas kids, obviously Trinity from right here in Wichita, and 2 new recruits for next year's class that just got announced on your Twitter, which is now Newman Jets VB on Twitter if you want to follow the team on social media. 2 from Kansas, plus 1 from Colorado. Now, don't get in trouble because the NCAA has all these rules about what you can and can't say about kids based on they have and haven't signed.
Right.
So don't get yourself fined. But do you have any comments about those 3 that are coming in?
No, those, again, those are all kids who are here already. They're on the roster. We have to be able to get kids in our own backyard. Why? Because people in the community are going to know who those kids are, and they're going to show them some support. It's one of the things that Chris has done really well at Wichita State.
Yes, he has.
He's gotten some Wichita kids. He's gotten some Kansas kids, and so they've been able to generate this following. So we have to do the same thing. We have to be able to get some kids from the area so that that people will support them. They're going to come watch some games, and the more visibility the program has, then now you're looking at, okay, well, maybe the kid in North Texas and Dallas has actually seen our program a little bit, and now that kid is interested in venturing out of their little home area, and now you're adding another piece to the puzzle that helps you. You know what I mean? So ultimately, really, it's about developing that relationship with the community, but also serving a larger community in the surrounding areas.
How much does your staff plan to that? This is your second full season with Coach Monroe as your lead assistant. You've got 2 more assistants on top of that now. How important has that been to the growth of the roster, the recruiting, and the overall growth of the program?
Oh, it's awesome. We sit here on Monday afternoon before practice, chatting recruiting, chatting training. We have a really good plan going into the week. The plan changes, of course, as the week goes along, depending on kind of how things are coming along. But being able to have 4 voices in the office that are bouncing ideas, and, again, I'm a guy that says, hey, I don't know everything, so let's try this. What do you guys think? And they're going to give their opinions, and we can have some back and forth in the office and figure some things out. But ultimately, it's been really, really great to have everybody on staff, because now we also get to recruit, and we have 3 people that we can send. The 3 of us were at a tournament on Saturday at Valley Center watching some volleyball, and having all 3 of us out there is pretty awesome.
Well, what's the timeline like right now for volleyball as we kind of ramp up to what we hope is going to be a start sometime between January and March? Who knows what the MIAA presidents are going to do,
Sure.
but what's your timeline here as we get set to when basketball season is scheduled to start, which as we're talking is November 18th?
Right. Again, just take it as it comes, If they tell us, hey, you have 6 matches you can play, we'll play those 6 matches, and we'll do everything we can to win 6 matches.
Sure.
Because experience is experience. We're at a point where if you're playing less than 50% of your season, the NCAA doesn't consider it an actual season, right? So at that point, kids can retain their eligibility, so they don't lose an entire year. So getting a chance to play something is quite beneficial, because it's almost like having a redshirt year for these kids. And I think it helps them with their studies, with their programs, because they can take some classes when they're not in season.
Sure.
Because ultimately, if a kid comes and says, hey, I have to miss Tuesday practice because I have to do these things for my class, it's fine. You know what I mean? Like, we get it. You're trying to be a nurse. Like, go take care of that. Like, don't worry about it. When you get in the gym, just give it everything you've got. You know what I mean? So I think it'll be beneficial for us to go through this period and be able to do some things and take care of some academics, while at the same time, maybe we get a chance to play. And again, we'll remain hopeful, but we'll take every day for what it is. We don't know what we don't know, like I said earlier, and all we can prepare for is what they tell us to do.
Jose Lugo, head volleyball coach, Newman Jets. Again, not really sure when we're going to see the Jets on the court, but we're hoping for sometime after January 1st. And, Coach, when you're on there, wish you best of luck.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
One thing I do know is that Trinity Conley is going to join us next on the Jetcast.
Hi friends, Phil Nightingale, General Manager at Mel Hamilton Ford. Have you been thinking about a new SUV? Right now is a great time to buy a new Ford at the big corner of 119th and West Kellogg. EcoSport, Escape, Edge, Explorer, Expedition. Mel Hamilton Ford is sure to have the right vehicle to fit your size. And you know you can count on us with this great selection to find the right SUV at the best price to fit your budget. Check us out online or in person. Let us make your purchase easy with pickup and delivery right from your home or work. Mel Hamilton Ford, experience the difference.
Back here on episode 17 of the Jetcast, we are talking Newman Jets volleyball today. And joining me, all MIAA honorable mention last year. She led the Jets in almost every major statistical category. 333 kills, 374.5 points. She was third on the team, 180 digs, third with 39 total blocks. Junior outside hitter from right here in Wichita, Kansas, by way of Wichita Heights High School, Trinity Conley. Great to have you back on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, is it good to be back in class with all this crazy stuff going on? Has the classroom been some sort of a sanctuary for you?
Yeah, so I mean, we've been out of the classroom since March, so it's definitely been a long time. It was weird to finally get back into the classroom, and a lot of my classes are actually still online, so I'm doing a lot of them still from home, but I have a few labs and stuff that are in person, so that's nice.
What has been the team mood like when you guys found out that the volleyball season was not going to go on as scheduled without interruptions in September?
I mean, we kind of had an idea that it probably was going to get canceled, but we were just trying to remain hopeful, and then of course when it did get canceled, we were all devastated, but we just tried to, keep happy spirits.
How do you pick yourself up from something like that?
Well, we have each other to lean on, so that helps a lot too.
Well, and you mentioned, if you've probably seen this face before, obviously without a mask, but she was on KSN for an interview, and you mentioned that you were, at that time, still trying to remain optimistic. Are you guys still optimistic you're going to get to play at some point?
Yeah, for sure. And we've seen that, the pod work that we're doing here is working, so we are hopeful that we will be able to get to play in the spring, but we're still not sure, not trying to get anyone's hopes up or anything.
How different has it been? How difficult is it to try to bond as a team without that competition? Obviously, you guys still do a lot of stuff on the court. You're still practicing each and every week, but is it different trying to come together as a team without those games?
Yeah, for sure. So we're in 2 groups of 8 right now, which is, last year that was basically our whole team.
Right.
But we have to have separate locker room times. We can't really hang out outside of practice or anything, so it is different, especially since we have a lot of new people. We wish that we could do more together as a team and compete and learn each other's game styles, but we finally got a taste of that last night, and it was really fun.
So you guys, you basically have half of a team that you're with, and you don't get to see the other. Do you have any friends on the other half of the team that you just can't hang out with?
Yeah, for sure.
Who are a couple that you wish you would have gotten potted up with?
Imani and Stephanie. I hang out with them a lot, before we started practice and throughout the summer and stuff. So when we found out we weren't in the same group, we were just like, oh, dang, that sucks.
Yeah. Was that a random draw? Obviously, positions had to have something to do with it.
Yeah, and I think Coach kind of based it off of roommates and who's in classes together.
Summer had to be kind of a bummer for you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What was the thing the plans that you had for the summer that you were planning on that you were bummed out about the most that you didn't get to do?
That's a good question. I don't really do a lot in the summer.
No?
I just work, but we were able, it was a cool thing, since our spring was canceled, we were able to get in the gym with coaches, returners were, so that was nice to get in the gym a few times a week and get some work in.
We're talking with Trinity Conley. She's from right here in Wichita. Only 3 wins here at Newman your first 2 seasons, and I know that you're not used to losing. They don't call it Heights U for no reason. So a lot of wins, basketball and volleyball at Wichita Heights High School. How frustrating has that been, and how have you tried to view this as you doing a service to the program and to the community to try to rebuild Newman volleyball to where it was about 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, it can get frustrating. It's hard to just try and, stay engaged, not go into every game like, oh, we're probably going to lose, We just have to, stay competitive. That almost builds a drive in everyone. motivates us even more. And so I think that's has what helped us throughout the year.
Well, because I'm not sure if all the Jets knew, but being from Kansas, I'm sure you were probably aware about how good the MIAA is in volleyball.
Yeah, for sure.
When the change was made.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, there's still a Conley at Wichita Heights, if I'm not mistaken. Ashton, I believe. What's it been like to be able to watch her younger sister, correct?
Yeah.
What's it been like to be close to home while she's playing? Do you ever get to get over and catch those Falcon games?
Yeah, for sure. It's great. She actually just graduated this last year, but I was able to walk with her on all of her senior nights, so that was a really awesome experience to have.
So living in Wichita, I always thought living in Lawrence, and I grew up in Topeka, was a good distance to be away from the family. It was a little inconvenient for them to come visit me, but it was really easy for me to go home. What's it been like to live in Wichita and go to Newman? Do you live on campus?
My freshman year, I lived at home. My last year, I lived off campus in a house with a few other teammates, and then this last year, I actually moved back home, but it was only supposed to be temporary. I'm moving out very soon.
How has that been? Being in the place where you grew up. I'm sure it's got its advantages and disadvantages.
Yeah, it's weird for sure. Sometimes I don't feel like I'm in college just because
Right.
I know Wichita. It's not a different scene for me, but it's nice to go and see my family whenever I can, or to go home to them at night or whatever.
What is the thing that you're looking forward to doing the most once all the restrictions, they say, hey, you know what, take off the mask and do whatever you want, it's fine. What's the first thing that you want to do when that happens?
Coach, plug your ears. No, I'm just kidding. This is funny. We all love club rodeo, and I know it probably sounds crazy, but at practice, certain songs would come on, because that's one of the things we would all do as a team was, Friday nights just go to club rodeo as a team, but we obviously can't do that now.
Well, they got a brand new building. I hear it's supposed to be even better than the old one, so
yeah.
So club rodeo, that might be coming for you.
Yeah, just to go out and do something fun.
What was the hardest thing for you about the quarantine back in March and April when, everything was really locked down?
Well, everyone went home, so I was lonely. I was so lonely, yeah. I was just home every day by myself, and of course, I work out a lot, and all the gyms are closed, but my mom, she built a home gym, so, I was able to go and work out at her house every day, but yeah, I would just probably say just being alone.
Yeah, well, I know you got back to the Y as soon as it came open, so Coach Blackburn, she was still working, but, training for volleyball, I would think, would be a little bit difficult. With basketball, obviously, you can shoot the ball, you can get a shooting machine, but for volleyball, you really do need human contact
for sure.
to pass. Was there anything in volleyball specific that you were able to work on, or did you really just try to focus on your overall fitness?
Yeah, I really just try to focus on my overall fitness. There's not, like you said, there's not much you can do in volleyball without another person or a net or anything. Yeah, so I couldn't really do a lot.
Well, it's time for your question chain question from Coach Lugo. And if you were watching the first segment or listening on the audio network, you know that she was honorable mention last year. And Coach Lugo wants to know, what steps are you going to take yourself from honorable mention to first team MIAA, which that's a big jump, and there are a lot of good players, but obviously he has the confidence in you that you can do it. What do you feel like you need to do to get onto that first team level?
I feel like I need to be a little more consistent and a little more aggressive. There are kind of times I would psych myself out of hitting certain balls that could have potentially ended up in more kills and less errors. So yeah, I just need to be a little more balanced in that area.
So the next time we have a player, I'll get in touch with Coach Lugo. You get to ask them a question next time we cover volleyball. So your final question is this: how do you stay mentally ready for a season that you don't know is coming for sure? You don't know when it's coming. You're practicing obviously very hard, trying to get ready for that season. How do you keep yourself motivated for that when there's just so many questions?
Yeah, so right now we're all thinking of it like, this is our spring season, this is our off season, our training season. So that's kind of helped us stay motivated and helped me stay motivated. Is our season's coming, whether it's in the spring or next fall. So we just have to keep working while we can.
Junior from right here in Wichita, Trinity Conley from Wichita Heights High School, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
When we come back, you're going to meet the new Newman Jets women's soccer coach when we complete the Jetcast after this. Jetcast this week with a new era set to begin for NU women's soccer following the departure of Aaron Avila. Joanna Pryor didn't have an easy job. He left the program to join Missouri Western, but in his wake, he left the program here at Newman with a sparkling 37, 22-16 record, 4 straight winning seasons. Those would come on the back of 5 straight losing seasons for Jets women's soccer. Pryor did not go far to fill the vacancy, just a short drive up Mays Road to the city that bears its name. She stayed in the family, hiring the boys and girls soccer coach from Mays High School, a former Jet himself, Jay Holmes, who took over the girls program. The Eagles won 12 AVCTL titles, 11 straight state tournament appearances, a 9-time league coach of the year. Boys also won a league title and made it to state. He returns to Newman after a 4-year playing career that wrapped up in 1988, helped the Jets to a District 10 championship, 2-time NAIA National Player of the Week, 4-time All-City League player by way of Wichita West High School. So it's my privilege to introduce to you here the 4th women's soccer coach in the D2 era for Newman University Athletics, and former Newman Jet, Jay Holmes. Welcome home, Coach.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Well, obviously, an exceptional high school coaching career, especially on the girls' side, with so much success in Mays. Where was college coaching on your radar this year when Joanna made that call to you?
You know, to be honest, I was completely happy at Mays High School, and just became aware of the position here at Newman after I had a conversation with the former coach of mine at Mays High, Ray Ramirez, who just indicated to me that the position was open and the timing was just perfect because I just retired from Sedgwick County after working there for the last 31 years.
So obviously you had a phone conversation from Joanna. What feelings did you get early on about returning here and moving down Mays Road and jogging over a little bit on Kellogg to coming back home to the place where you played?
Yeah, just so excited about the opportunity to come back home, so to speak. You know, I enjoyed my time here, my career here as a player, and just looking forward to seeing what I can do from a coaching perspective.
So 31 years with Sedgwick County. Also, it's always great to meet a fellow county employee. Mm-hmm. Your wife Shanna has been with you for 31 years. 31 years of marriage. What were her thoughts on this big change and jump to collegiate soccer?
You know, I gave a retirement speech last week, obviously, and had a conversation about the 3 different families that I have. You know, I have my work family, my real family, my work family, and my soccer family. And she's a soccer person. She grew up playing soccer, played collegiately some, so she's really supportive of me moving forward with this role.
We're talking with Jay Holmes. He is the new women's soccer coach here at Newman University. I have to imagine for some of those players, not that you didn't love all your players at Mays, but I would think especially on the girls' side, you had such a special run there. That had to have been a difficult conversation with some of those players, informing them that you would not be there for this challenging season that they're having. How difficult was that conversation, and what do you have to say to those people in Mays that supported you for a decade and had so much success there with you?
Yeah, we just had such a supportive and family environment, starting from the administration all the way down to the athletic department, to the parents and players. I mean, it was just an amazing culture to be a part of. It was a difficult conversation to have with those kids. I trained the boys all summer long, from June 15th up until my last day, until I made my announcement, and went to practice on a Monday. Told those kids that I accepted the position, and it was a difficult conversation to have with those kids. It's going into the season, but there's continuity there. My brother's continuing on as an assistant coach, and my other former assistant coach took the head coach role, Mike Pfeiffer. 20
years in between your playing career and when you started coaching at Mays High School. What made you decide to wait? I know that you did have a lot of work that you were doing with local soccer clubs, volunteering in between there, so you kind of dipped your toes in the water. What made the decision for you to wait to start being a head coach?
Well, exactly that. I had 3 kids that I raised and was involved with coaching at the club level, and then opportunity arose at Mays High School for me to coach and continuing to coach my kids in high school. So I transitioned from coaching them on the club level to the high school level, which was a real special experience, and something I didn't want to really want to lose,
Sure.
or seek out other coaching opportunities until this position became available. Plus, I wanted to finish my career and begin my Capers retirement.
Nothing wrong with that, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, with all that coming together, kind of made this the right time to move up to the collegiate ranks. And I know that being a former Jet yourself and being here in Wichita, you were aware of what was going on here with Coach Garcia-Bebek and then Coach Avila. There had been some lean years here at Newman, but the program, certainly these last 4 years, has been on an upswing. As you take over the head job here in 2020, what do you feel like the state of the program is right now?
I think it's in great shape. As you alluded to, Coach Avila has done a great job of working with these kids. I've been working with them for 3 weeks now. I see some real leadership on this team and a real willingness to work hard to take the team to the next level, and I'm just really encouraged by that.
What have those meetings with players been like? Obviously, these are players that have been involved. The seniors that you will have this year will have had 3 years in a winning culture where they were competing for Heartland Conference championships, had a winning record in their first year in the MIAA. How have those meetings gone, and how's the bond been that you've been building with those new Jets?
I think that it's gone pretty well to this point. I've held individual as well as team meetings to try and get an idea of where the players feel we're at in regards to their individual strengths and weaknesses, and identifying some, what they want from me as their coach moving forward, and what are some of the goals that they want to achieve.
What do you feel like is the next process for you in terms of building your staff? Have you completed your staff? Are you still hiring? But in terms of your assistant coaches, where are you in that process?
I have 2 graduate assistant coaches on staff now, Grace Linton, former player here, as well as Elena Garcia, who is a former player. So I have, I have those 2 that are on staff that are familiar with the personnel that we have, and are certainly been incredibly helpful to me as I've accepted this role.
Hey, Grace Linton, obviously we've had her on the Jetcast before, both as a player, and I think probably maybe we will have her on as a coach here in a bit. What team activities have you been doing? What are you allowed to do right now? We heard from Coach Lugo earlier that he's kind of in what would normally be the spring season. Under these guidelines that you're currently in, because your season should be underway right now as well as volleyball's, what are you guys being allowed to do right now?
Well, I know the girls are not excited about not having a season, but I'm certainly glad that we're not having a season right now. There's so much here for me to get a grasp on and learn and get to know. But we're certainly in that non-championship segment mindset in regards to how long we're able to train each week. We have to be in small groups to adhere to some of the COVID requirements that have been passed down. But we're training, and we're getting to know each other, and I think it's gone pretty well at this point.
Give us an idea of what the state of women's soccer is in the MIAA. MIAA obviously is very strong in many women's sports, and in sports overall, men's and women's from top to bottom. There are not very many sports that the MIAA isn't exceptional at. Where does women's soccer fall in that spectrum?
Central Missouri obviously has been at the top of the conference ladder for a number of years, and actually I think they won a national championship a few years ago.
I think that's right, yeah.
And so they have a very talented group of kids year in and year out there, and the MIAA, in my opinion, is one of the most competitive leagues in the country in regards to women's soccer.
A later start for you guys, obviously. January 1st is when the spring sports, or the now spring sports, originally fall sports, if you can keep track of all that, are allowed to start. But certainly I would anticipate that if you guys are allowed to play this season, it's not going to be a January 1st. That might be a tad bit chilly out. Do you have any idea about when you guys might be allowed to start, if you guys are allowed to play a season after January 1?
At this point, we don't have any idea. just waiting to hear from Joe on what the next steps are from both NCAA Division II as well as MIAA.
So with that in mind, I normally will ask the coach when they're in their first year, well, what are your first year expectations? Doesn't have to necessarily be a win-loss record. It might be getting systems in, getting players set up, or staff. How difficult is it to set expectations in a situation like you find yourself in as a year one coach?
Well, it's extremely difficult, especially given the fact that we can't compete internally the way we normally would. And being in such a small group format, it's really difficult to have an idea of what we have at this point, what systems we could put in place that would help us be more successful down the line. Hopefully as this plays out and maybe we get a vaccine in the near future, afford us an opportunity to do more things on the practice field, which will help give me a better idea moving forward.
So the final question for you, I'm going to ask you that question anyway. What expectations do you have for year one, given everything that is going on and the fact that you may or may not play, who knows? What will make you feel good about year one when we are sitting down here, let's say in August of next year, getting set for the 2021 season? What's going to make you feel like, whether or not you played, okay, I have this program where I want it to get set for year two of my tenure?
I think recruiting plays a huge part in that, and I'm just now becoming more familiar with that process and identifying recruits in the near future that could help benefit us long term. Certainly, I think by developing a positive team culture with who I have in place now and kind of setting some precedent and some tradition on some things moving forward with this group of kids, kind of much like I did at Mays High School, but it may look differently here.
Sure.
Just to try and put my own stamp on things.
Jay Holmes is your new women's soccer coach here at Newman University. Obviously, still waiting to see when they're going to get started, but we're hoping for some time after January 1st. And Coach, obviously, when you do get started, best of luck to you, and thanks so much. Welcome back to Newman University.
Thank you so much.
We'll be back next week for another episode of the Jetcast. Next week, going to have the new golf coach, but she's still the old golf coach. We'll explain next week. Also, I believe we've got men's soccer on the docket. So until then, Blake Cripps saying, go Jets.